Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea for this Thursday. Hope you're all doing really well. I posted my Club America review for the preseason friendly last night. It'll be up in the cards. Please go and check it out because that's where I cover the game in depth. We won't be talking about that on the show today. There is really only one story to focus on today from a Chelsea point of view regarding transfers, regarding I think just the general conversation, and that is of course the future of Conor Gallagher. Please hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the Chelsea content coming up as we ramp up towards the start of the season. But this story broke during the night, or very late UK time. I woke up to it, and of course so much reaction to it today, so much speculation over Gallagher's future, what this means, the repercussions of this, and how people are feeling. So David Ornstein, along with I guess what you'd consider the kind of mainstream Chelsea reporting crew, or people who regularly report about Chelsea transfers, are well respected, all kind of reported about this at the same time. Someone sent me sort of a collage, or kind of a screenshot with all of these different reports that dropped at the same time, basically all reporting the same thing, that Conor Gallagher has rejected a Chelsea contract offer amid Atletico Madrid interest. Apparently an agreement now has been reached between Chelsea and Atletico worth around 40 million euros, but apparently personal terms between the player and the Spanish club are yet to be agreed. Chelsea are apparently determined to avoid any repeat of the Rudiger and Christensen situation, where of course both players left for free. But apparently Gallagher has rejected a couple of contract offers. These contract offers being reported about and being discussed are around 2 years plus apparently an extra year. So not exactly a long-term deal, nowhere near the length of contracts that a lot of Chelsea signings are getting currently. And obviously, I think that's a relevant point we're going to get to. But clearly now, and has been reported by some others, maybe this is the thing that sways Gallagher's mind. Maybe he feels like Simeone's football, La Liga, Atletico Madrid, a big club, a club that plays Champions League football at times, can get to the latter stages of the Champions League. And, you know, he may just feel that it's just better for his career that he moves on. And I think my feeling on this is that I would respect Gallagher's decision either way. Either he decides to stick around, believes that you're not forcing me out of this club, I'm going to prove you wrong, I'm going to become a regular feature for Enzo Maresca, and you know you're going to eventually have to give me a serious contract offer, or I will walk next summer. Or he decides to move right now. I think Madrid is a great place for him. I think it'll be a very interesting watch for him in La Liga to see how he develops as a player. But, you know, I think there's obviously a lot to say here. And, you know, it's not exactly radically new, but this very much feels like the Mount playbook being thrown out again in terms of briefing about a player rejecting contract offers. And I've seen this develop over recent years. It's something I wrote about for the fanzine. I've written about it for Football.London. I've probably talked about it before on my show and podcast, is this idea that rejecting contract offers, I think at times has been used by clubs very deliberately. I think it's one of the most obvious uses of it in this case, to try and get fans angry with the player rather than with frustration over the club. And this of course worked with Mason Mount, I think, for a large proportion of people, at least from what I gauged last summer. I don't think it's going to work this time because it's already been used, and people have seen how a player like Gallagher has played for Chelsea, how he's clearly been desiring to stay at Chelsea, and now out of absolutely nowhere, on the brink of Chelsea agreeing a transfer for his sale, which they wanted to do, suddenly these stories emerge that he's rejecting all these contract offers. You know, it just feels a little bit convenient all in one go. And I think something, you know, I've been discussing with people today and regularly is that the decision makers at Chelsea need to take responsibility. And what I don't just mean that in terms of my own criticism for their decision making. It's like, if you want to sell off academy players, if you have no interest in seeing them develop in the first team, if all you see them as are a profit and it's all about player trading for you, we'll get to kind of where I feel on-pitch success kind of goes on the list of priorities for Chelsea. Because a year ago, if someone would have said to me, I'm not sure on-pitch success is kind of top, I would have laughed at them. But I think based on what I've seen just in this summer, I don't think it's that high. But if you want to make a decision, you have to own it, and you have to own the criticism that comes from that. Trying to constantly shift and blame and brief around either players you still currently own or coaches or people leaving the club, it's always someone else's fault. You have to take responsibility for that. This ownership wants none of the blame when things go wrong, but all of the credit when not a lot goes right. And that is a dynamic that is continuous, is undeniable, and is why so many people feel so disengaged and so frustrated. We spoke positively about the Club America performance, and I think it's very easy to strawman my argument and other people's arguments that, oh, you just want to be miserable all the time. Like, go and watch that Atletico, that Club America review, where I talk in glowing terms for a lot of the review about Christopher Nkunku, about what he could produce for Chelsea this season. I talk glowingly about Reece James. I get excited about the idea of Cole Palmer playing alongside Christopher Nkunku, talking about Mark Guiu, how I think actually he could turn out to be a very good signing for Chelsea this season. So the idea that it's this binary thing of I just sit here and rubbish everything regarding Chelsea now is obviously nonsensical. As I've consistently said this summer, people have just been reacting to what the mood has been, what they've been presented with, and I think they're very fair to feel more negative than positive. That may change when stuff gets serious, but that's where we are right now. So I don't think if you think my criticism and negativity or lack of kind of blind willingness to think that everything Chelsea are doing currently is wonderful, and you think I'm in a minority, I think you'll be quite surprised. So there's that. There's a lack of accountability. I think the offer itself is just insulting, given this is a club now that hands long-term 7, 8, 9-year deals to anyone, really. I mean, anyone that comes across the club who seemingly doesn't come out of Cobham, hasn't produced anything at the club as yet before they signed, gets very long-term deals, gets a lot of trust. But Conor Gallagher, who's already produced very, clear and undeniable proof that he is a valuable player to Chelsea's first team squad, only gets handed a 2+1 year deal. That's already that for me, a bit like the Mount thing a year ago. It's just prolonging the inevitable. It's just so you can have a bit more control in the situation. It's not a really serious commitment of this player being in your future. If you say that he doesn't deserve that long-term contract, well, then you have to justify other contracts that have been given to players who I don't think are as valuable to Chelsea as Conor Gallagher, or already haven't really proven anywhere close to the level of quality and performances that Conor Gallagher has. So there's that. I think that the funny thing for me is trying this thing again. For them, it's very convenient if Gallagher is seen to be kind of this traitorous person who rejects contract offers. They've got absolutely no choice in the matter. If you live in kind of 24-hour news cycles and you forget what happened literally a week ago or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, then maybe that works for you. But all of us saw Trevor Chalobah be omitted from the squad that went to the USA. We've seen the fact that the club has quite clearly wanting to sell Gallagher for several windows now. That has been quite clear. That has not been kind of rumour, wild speculation. It's been an open secret. So it's not exactly a situation now where they can turn around and act all shocked that Gallagher has rejected an offer that isn't that long term of a commitment, which then gives them the easy way of turning around and going, well, what were we supposed to do? But offer the player a serious deal that is in line with the way you've treated other players and given commitment to other players, so I don't think are as good as Conor Gallagher. So there's that too, and I just... It gets back to my kind of general feeling around this summer that I've consistently said, but is this squad stronger than when it was at the end of last season? I don't think it is, and that's just today. Chalobah hasn't officially gone, Gallagher hasn't officially gone, but if both of those leave and Chelsea don't replace those players with, for me, with adequate replacements or players of a similar level or just consistency, then we can't seriously say this squad has been radically improved. And I always come back to, what is the point of a transfer window? And I'll keep saying this because unfortunately this summer for me has been anything but what I think a football fan's idea of a transfer window is. Although we live in a culture now that is so obsessed with transfers. I think there are people who care more about transfers than actual football, which is just insanity to me. But there are some accounts out there who have made a living off doing that. I think we all kind of accept that and believe that the transfer window is there to make your squad better, to expand your options, to sell players you don't want anymore. But to really, especially the summer one, walk into the season, especially when you're a player of Chelsea's vast finances, to be able to walk into the season better than where you left it at the end of last, and that real sense of progression. That's not, again, when I say that, that doesn't mean Chelsea's squad is crap. Chelsea's squad has no good players. Obviously, that's a foolish thing to say. But it does mean that I think just objectively, I look at the outgoings and incoming so far this summer, and I don't think you can honestly tell me we've radically improved. I think it's going to take a lot, and I think in every department, and there are so many names now listing, people were pointing them out to me of people who have left this club in a short period of time, and every time the narrative is it's the individual. It's nothing to do with Chelsea. Don't look above the individual. Don't look beyond that. It's just, this was a bad egg. This was someone that needed to leave. This was a player we had to solve. This was a manager we had to sack. And I think, collectively, what I've seen is people, even those that dismissed maybe my concerns and other people's concerns a lot earlier, even they're coming round and going, the maths just don't add up here. So I personally have the belief that, just speaking to people who work at the club, looking at what I see in front of my eyes from these reports, is, I don't think that either the people who are football people, their ideas of what matters in football, I think, is maybe misguided at a club like Chelsea. I'm not entirely sure what the idea is behind Chelsea now in terms of what the guiding principles are, what is our ambition as a club, which is quite funny, really, because we have to be winning next season. We have to start winning quickly. And if your idea is to disband the academy, if your idea is to start selling off every academy product that has come through to make a pure profit, killing off sentimentality, which is going to annoy a section of fans, if you don't replace that, if you don't bring fans some joy, like success, that turns toxic very quickly, because it becomes very difficult to understand, what is there to connect to if you're ripping out institutional knowledge from the club, people that clearly have a lot of respect, like Jim Fraser and Neil Bath obviously leaving earlier this summer. If it feels like the club is being downgraded in a lot of sense, if it feels like the club isn't moving in a positive direction despite clearly still spending a lot of money, again, it's this road that I fear Chelsea are going down, and I'd like them not to go down. I'd like to be I'd like to be proven wrong that this idea of squad building is so genius that none of us saw it coming, and everyone else in football didn't see it coming, rather than what I fear is going to happen is, if the season doesn't start well, the moon inside Stamford Bridge isn't going to be great. And again, who is to blame for that? Is it the fans who are just reacting to what they've seen over the summer, or is it the people who are actually in charge? Behdad Ighbali, Paul Winstanley, Lawrence Stewart, the key decision makers at Chelsea. No ways around it. These are the people who have been making key decisions, who hold the power at Chelsea, who are leading the recruitment. Even Todd Bowley, despite I'm sure having a powerful voice, is not the main man. Despite what a lot of media will tell you, they still talk like Todd Bowley is Roman Abramovich. That's never been the case, but it certainly isn't the case now. So I've talked a lot of things beyond just Conor Gallagher, but I think his sale and Trevor's sale and how this summer has felt, I think is indicative of a wider problem. And it feels to me that this is going to keep repeating. So I support people's cynicism in the comments on my videos. I really do. Like, I know some people can kind of go overboard, and you don't just want to be a nihilist, right? Like, when Chelsea do things well this season, and I hope they do more things well than not, I will praise them. I will be happy as any Chelsea fan, as you can probably tell behind me. It's not exactly like I'm unbiased towards what football club I care about, but I'm honest, and I tell you how I feel about the club, and I speak to people who care deeply about this club, and I keep on reflecting this. No one I speak to, even the more optimistic people, even some of them, are starting to think, I'm not quite sure where this is going. And I think losing a player like Gallagher, who objectively was very good last season, but obviously is a homegrown player too, means a lot to fans, and they believe not only that emotional connection is being lost, but then also just why are you actively wanting to sell players that are good? It's basic football economics, and if you continue to downgrade your squad like that actively, unless you have bought players who radically transform you instantly and you pull things out of the bag that many people don't expect, there's only one way that usually goes, and that means you're at least left behind. So yeah, I'm not going to buy the Mount playbook. I didn't last year, but I know I was maybe more in a minority. I don't think as many people are going to buy the logic that we've known that Gallagher wants to stay at Chelsea. He doesn't really want to leave Chelsea. I think it's the same with Trevor Chalobah, right? There may become a point where he just feels it's better for his career that he moves on. But the idea that the club have done everything in their power to make Gallagher feel valued, I just think is laughable. And to try and see this briefing now that has kind of turned things around, and the fact that anyone would buy that, for me, again, maybe you want to wipe your memory of what has happened over the past 12 months. Fair enough. That's up to you. And maybe there's some people who kind of go, well, that's, I don't like it, but it is what it is. I respect those people's point of view as well, but I'll give you my point of view. And that's it. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.